Welcome back, dear friends, to Legend and Lore Stories, the home of unforgettable tales that stir your heart and soul. If you love stories of emotions, sacrifice, and mystery, then you're in the right place. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and share your feelings in the comments below. And of course, ring the notification bell so you never miss another heart-touching story. Now, let's begin today's journey. I remember that day so vividly, as if the memory has been carved into my very soul. The day I returned home from my hostel, exams finally behind me, with a heart brimming with happiness. For weeks, I had been waiting for this moment, not just to meet my parents or siblings, but to meet her, my young bride, Sarah. Every mile that brought me closer to home filled me with warmth. I imagined her eyes lighting up at my arrival, her lips curling into that shy smile that always melted my heart. I believed this time she would respond to my love. This time she would no longer hesitate to hold my hand. As I packed my clothes and books at the hostel, I whispered to myself that our days of fear and shyness were over. Soon, she would be mine completely. She would welcome me with love, and my life would finally begin as it was meant to. But fate had prepared something entirely different. The moment I reached home, I sensed something was wrong. Before I could even step through the door, I heard it cries, deep and desperate. My heartbeat faltered. I rushed forward and knocked. The door opened, and there was my mother. Her face was drenched in tears, her hands trembling. The moment she saw me, she collapsed into my arms, weeping uncontrollably. "We are ruined, my son. We are destroyed," she cried, her voice breaking. My body stiffened. I held her tightly and asked, "Mother, what happened? Tell me what's wrong." Her next words shattered my world. "Your wife, Sarah, she has run away." For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. The earth beneath me felt as if it had vanished. My hands turned cold, my mind numb. I stepped back, shaking my head. "No, this cannot be true. Are you in your senses? Mother, she is only 14. She doesn't even step outside without permission. How could she possibly run away?" But my mother's grief turned bitter with anger. "I told you not to give her so much freedom. She was always climbing onto the roof, pretending to hang clothes. Who knows which secret lover she was meeting? I warned you, but you wouldn't listen. And now she has brought shame upon us all." Her words cut me like knives, but my heart refused to accept them. I walked inside slowly, my legs heavy as stone. My father sat silently in the corner, his head bowed into his hands, his silence more painful than 1,000 words. My siblings sat still, eyes lowered, refusing to meet mine. The air inside the house felt suffocating, as though judgment hung in every corner. But in the chaos of accusations, one truth echoed in my heart. Sarah could not do this. She was not that kind of girl. She was shy, timid, even afraid of me at times. She would blush when I so much as held her hand. Could such a girl truly run away? No. Something was wrong, something far darker than what they were saying. And that night, as I sat on the charpoy staring at the dark sky, my heart battled between the cruel voices of the world and the innocence of the girl I loved. Deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of a storm that would tear my life apart. The night dragged on in silence, but inside me, storms raged without end. I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, Sarah's innocent face flashed before me, her timid smile, her downcast gaze. My mind kept screaming that something was wrong. She could never betray me. Yet, the whispers of the villagers and the sharp words of my mother were like daggers piercing my chest. 3 days passed like 3 centuries. Sarah was nowhere to be found. Every corner of our village echoed with gossip. Women gathered in groups, their whispers loud enough to wound me. They said, "So young, yet such a sinner. We thought she was pure, but look at her now. She fooled everyone with her modesty." Their words burned me from within, but I kept silent. Deep in my soul, I still clung to faith in her. Then came the morning of the 4th day. It was just before dawn, around 4 o'clock. I was lying awake on my charpoy when I heard a faint knock at the door. My heart skipped a beat. Slowly, I rose and went to open it, and there she was. Sarah stood before me, her body trembling, her face hidden under a black veil. The sight of her almost made me collapse. I gasped her name, but before I could ask anything, she staggered inside and collapsed onto the floor, unconscious. I shouted her name again and again, but she did not respond. My mother and father rushed out at the sound of my cries. My mother's face twisted with rage. "So you've come back after blackening your face. Shame on you," she spat. but I ignored her. My heart was breaking at the sight of my wife lying lifeless on the ground. My sister brought water, and I sprinkled it over Sarah's face, until finally, she opened her eyes, weak and frightened. The moment she saw me, she whispered, "Save me, please save me," and then broke into tears. I tried to calm her, but she pushed my hand away, trembling like a frightened bird. "Don't come near me, please, don't," she begged, her voice broken with terror. My chest ached as I watched her, but I stayed silent, waiting for her to speak. My mother's voice cut through the air like a blade. "When she wakes up, divorce her and throw her out. Such a woman has no place in our home." My father agreed, and the villagers who had gathered at our door nodded in unison. But I stood firm. "No," I said, "not until I hear the truth from her own lips." The villagers sneered, calling me a fool, a disgrace for defending her. But I did not care, for in Sarah's eyes, even in her fear, I saw something else, a hidden pain, a story untold, and I knew her silence concealed a truth darker than anyone could imagine. The days that followed were filled with unbearable tension. My mother's anger grew heavier with each passing hour, her words cutting like knives. "Throw her out before the village curses us all," she repeated again and again. My father remained silent, though his silence itself felt like an agreement with her. The villagers' eyes were filled with suspicion and disgust every time they passed our door. But I held on. I could not accept her guilt until I heard her truth. I waited, hoping she would open up. Each night, I sat beside her, asking softly, "Sarah, what happened? Where did you go?" But her lips trembled, and her eyes filled with tears. Sometimes she whispered, "I can't tell you. No one will believe me." Other times, she simply cried and turned her face away. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I gathered my courage. I sat near her and spoke firmly. "Sarah, I am your husband. I have stood against my own mother, my own father, and the whole village for you. If you do not tell me the truth, how will I protect you? Trust me." Her hands trembled as she clutched to the edge of her shawl. At last, she began to speak, her voice shaking. "Since the day I entered this house, your mother never accepted me. She scolded me at every chance, accused me of small things, and never let me feel at peace. One day, I answered back. I said, 'When you return, I will tell you everything.' That day, she struck me and warned me never to open my mouth again." Her eyes grew wet as she continued. "Then one evening, a neighbor came and told your mother to take me to the shrine of a so-called holy man. She said he had charms that could silence rebellious daughters. Your mother forced me to go. At the shrine, that man stared at me with an evil hunger in his eyes. He told your mother that I was bad luck, that one day I would snatch you away from her, and that only he could silence me. He asked your mother to leave me there with him for a few days. He promised he would make me obedient forever." My blood turned cold. Sarah sobbed, her voice breaking. "That night, your mother dragged me from my room. She bound my hands, gagged my mouth, and took me to that man's shrine. She left me there. She left me in his hands." Tears streamed down her face. Her words fell like burning coals into my heart. She whispered, "What happened after that? I cannot tell you. He warned me if I spoke, he would kill me through his spirits. He said no one would believe me, and that I would be cursed forever." Her body shook violently as she wept. I reached out, but she recoiled in terror. "Don't come near me. I am unclean. I am ruined," she cried. And in that moment, I realized the depth of her suffering. My wife was not guilty. She was a victim of cruelty so dark that even words could not capture it. From that night onward, nothing was the same between us. I wanted to hold her, to comfort her, to tell her she was safe with me. But Sarah flinched every time I came near. She would shrink back, whispering in fear, "Don't touch me, please." Her eyes carried a permanent shadow of terror, and her body trembled like a leaf in the wind. I tried to give her space, to let her heal in her own time, but her silence was unbearable. Nights were filled with her muffled sobs. Days passed with her lost in thought, staring into emptiness, her lips sealed with secrets that poisoned her soul. Soon, her health began to fade. Her cheeks grew pale, her body weak. One evening, she collapsed, unable to stand. I rushed her to the town doctor, desperate for answers. The doctor examined her, frowned, and then looked at me gravely. "She is pregnant," the doctor said. The words struck me like lightning. My mind spun, my body froze. For a moment, I felt the world collapsing around me. Sarah burst into tears, covering her face with trembling hands. The doctor's eyes softened, but her words were sharp. You both are too young. She is fragile, too weak to bear this. Her condition is dangerous. And you are hardly more than a child yourself. Why do families ruin lives by marrying children so early? I swallowed hard, fighting the storm inside me. Somehow, I managed to say, I don't want this child. Please, there must be another way. The doctor shook her head firmly. It is too late. An abortion could kill her. If you want her to live, you must let the pregnancy continue. But be warned, her body may not survive it. We returned home, silence weighing on us like a curse. That night, Sara clung to me, crying, this is not your child. This is my shame. Please give it away when it is born. I cannot raise it. Every time I see it, I will remember what happened. Her words shattered me. I looked at her frail body, her broken spirit, and felt a pain no man should bear. But deep in my heart, I knew the child was innocent. He had no fault in his birth. I told her quietly, you are not guilty, and this child is not guilty either. I will protect you both. Though I said the words, I wondered how long I could keep them true. For already, the village sharpened its knives of judgment. And even within my home, my mother's eyes burned with hatred. Months passed, and the burden of shame and silence grew heavier on both of us. Sara rarely spoke. She moved like a shadow in the small house we had rented in the city. While I tried to work hard, giving tuition to children to earn enough for our survival, she busied herself with cooking and chores. But her face carried no light, no joy. Her silence was louder than any words. Finally, the day came. Sara gave birth to a baby boy. The cries of that innocent child filled the small room. The nurse tried to place him in Sara's arms, but she turned her head away, refusing to look at him. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, take him away. I cannot bear to see him. He will always remind me of the horror. My heart ached, but I could not blame her. The child was a living wound for her. Yet, as I looked at his tiny hands, his innocent face, I felt a strange strength within me. This boy was not guilty. He did not choose the circumstances of his birth. He deserved love, protection, and a father. I took him gently into my arms. I told myself, if Sara cannot love him, I will. I will raise him as my own. He will never feel unwanted. From that day forward, my life took on a new purpose. Sara, however, remained distant. She would avoid the child, sometimes turning away when his cries filled the night. I carried the weight of both father and mother. I fed him, cradled him to sleep, and whispered promises that he would never be abandoned. Slowly, I began to feel less like a boy and more like a man, hardened by responsibility and sorrow. Life was still harsh, money was scarce, and judgment followed us even in the city. But the bond between me and that little boy grew stronger with every passing day. He gave me a reason to keep fighting. Then, one day, news came from the village. My mother was gravely ill and wanted to see me. My heart trembled at the thought of facing her again, but duty pulled me back. With Sara and the child by my side, I returned to the village. The house I had left in anger was filled with silence. My mother lay on a charpoy, her face pale, her body frail. As soon as she saw me, she joined her hands and wept. My son, she cried, I wronged you. I wronged your wife. I let my pride and anger destroy your happiness. Forgive me. For the first time in months, Sara's eyes softened. My mother reached out weakly toward her and said, daughter, forgive me. I was blinded by jealousy and fear. I did not see your pain. Tears welled up in my eyes. Could wounds so deep truly heal? I did not know, but in that moment, I realized life had brought us full circle, from pain to forgiveness, from betrayal to a chance at redemption. My mother's tears did not erase the past, but they softened the walls of bitterness that had grown between us. For the first time, I saw true regret in her eyes. She held Sara's hands weakly and begged again for forgiveness. Sara, though broken and scarred, simply nodded with silent tears. That single gesture was enough to bring peace to my mother's heart in her final days. Not long after, my mother passed away. Her death left a strange emptiness in the house, but also lifted a heavy burden from our lives. With her gone, the whispers of hatred seemed to fade, and I could finally focus on building a life for my family. I worked tirelessly, taking on more tuitions, finding small jobs, anything to provide food and shelter for Sara and the child. Slowly, our lives found a fragile rhythm. Sara, though still distant from the baby, began to heal little by little. She would watch me cradle him, her eyes softening at the sight of my devotion. Sometimes I caught her touching his tiny fingers when she thought I wasn't looking. The child grew, and with each smile, each little step, he became the light of my life. I named him Imran to the world. He might have been a symbol of shame, but to me, he was a symbol of survival, of hope, of love that refuses to die. Still, scars remained. Sara struggled with nightmares. Many nights, she woke up screaming, drenched in sweat, calling for me to protect her. I would hold her, whispering that she was safe, that no one would hurt her again. But deep down, I knew the shadows of her past would never fully leave her. Years passed. I completed my studies while working to support us. Slowly, I earned respect in the city as a teacher. People began to forget the scandal of the village. We built a modest but peaceful home, away from the accusing eyes of others. But the journey was never easy. There were moments when Sara's silence hurt me, when her distance felt like rejection. Yet, I reminded myself of the pain she carried. Her scars were deeper than mine. My love for her demanded patience, not anger. One evening, as Imran played near us, Sara finally spoke words I had waited years to hear. Her voice trembled as she said, "You saved me. If he hadn't stood by me, I would have ended my life long ago. I don't know why you sacrificed so much for me." I looked at her, tears filling my eyes. "Because you were never guilty. Sara, you were a victim, and no matter what anyone said, I knew your heart was pure. Love is not about abandoning someone in their darkest hour. Love is standing beside them, even when the whole world turns away." Sara broke down into tears. But this time, she did not push me away. She leaned against me, holding me for the first time in years. That embrace told me that perhaps healing was finally possible. Life moved forward slowly, though the shadows of the past never completely vanished. Imran grew into a bright child, full of laughter and curiosity. Every time I saw him smile, my heart felt stronger. He was not just a reminder of pain. He became the very reason I fought through life. Sara, too, began to change. Though the scars of her trauma lingered, she started to open her heart, little by little. She would sit near Imran, watching him play, sometimes even stroking his hair as he slept. One night, she whispered to me, maybe God sent him to us as a test, but also as a blessing. If he weren't here, maybe I would never have survived. Those words were the first true hope I had heard from her lips. Together, we built a fragile but real family. I worked as a teacher, gaining respect in the city, while Sara slowly found strength in motherhood. Though her laughter was rare, her silence no longer carried only pain. It carried resilience, a quiet strength forged through suffering. Yet, whenever I thought of the man at the shrine, the so-called holy man who destroyed her innocence, fire burned in my veins. I could never forgive him, but life had taught me that revenge would not heal us. Love and patience were the only weapons we had. Years passed, and Imran began to ask questions. "Father, why does mother cry sometimes at night? Why do people in the village look at us strangely?" My heart ached with each question, but I promised myself I would tell him the truth when he was ready, not as a curse, but as a lesson that evil often hides behind the mask of holiness, and that silence in the face of cruelty destroys lives. Sara and I still carried our wounds, but we walked forward together. Where once she had pushed me away, now she leaned on me. Where once I had felt alone, now I had a family that gave me strength. Our story was not perfect, but it was real. In the end, I realized something powerful. Love is not about fairy tales or happy endings. Love is about sacrifice, about standing beside someone when the world turns against them. It is about seeing their brokenness and choosing to stay, to fight, to heal together. And as I watched Imran run across the courtyard, his laughter echoing through the walls that once held only sorrow, I knew this was our redemption. Pain had scarred us, but love had kept us alive. And in that love, we found hope again. And this, dear friends, was the story of Shafiq, Sara, and little Imran. A journey from pain to survival, from betrayal to redemption. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe to Legend and Lore Stories for more unforgettable tales. Until next time, remember, every story is more than just words, it's an experience.